Hello and welcome to Qarib Talks. It is the talk show that supports more than 40 independent platforms in Iraq, Lebanon, Palestine, and Jordan, and supporting the partners in covering issues related to marginalized groups, including women. And this is including the inherent rights and the freedom of expression. It is a program for the IFD, and it is implemented by SAFE. And as every year, and in the Women Day, and which is the 3rd of March, and after several days of this day, and the month is the month of women, we are going to tackle issues close to the interest of women, and indicating that the region is passing unprecedented situation after the war that took place in Palestine, Gaza, and what's happening in the West Bank, and the possibility of renewing the war, and also the related wars in Lebanon, Iraq, and Jordan, and also a historic event, which is the collapse of the Assad regime, which poses many challenges on the whole population of Syria, and in particular the women, and the sectarian and ethnic conflicts that may affect the future of women in Syria. For this discussion or talk, we are having panelists. Hayat Mirshad is the editor-in-chief of Sharika Walakin platform, and Executive Director of Female Feminist Organization, Tala Sharif, founder of Female Camiras in Palestine, Lina Shawab, CEO, Radio Rosanna from Syria, Marwa Abed, a lawyer and activist from Iraq, Noor Rodan from Sada Podcast in Jordan, which is a podcast specializes in women issues and other youth issues. And in this episode or session that will not last more than 1 hour, hopefully, because it is conducted during Ramadan. So Ramadan Kareem, and but the talk will be a little bit intensive. We will start with the quick interventions on how the developments affected the status quo of women, and how it led to the increase in the domestic and violence, and some backwardness in the rights of women. So who would like to start? Would you like me to pose a question or to start talking? Because if we have a vital session or active session, and not waiting for me to intervene, and you can intervene whenever you deem appropriate, this will be great. Marwa, الصوت مش واضح. Uh, I don't know if your sound is not clear. Um, Noor, you can start. Usually, when talking about the current developments and wars, usually women are the weakest link, although they are the least call for wars and intervention, but they bear the consequences of wars. And with the wars in the region, and all what happened, there are roles of women, of men, and the situation was very hard for men even, and the political situation is restricting the role of women by different groups, and the, women are the weakest link because they are using them as a pressure card on the different groups. Can you talk a little bit about Jordan? Yes, in Jordan, we don't have wars inside Jordan, but we usually have the Palestinian cause, which is which has the highest impact on the Jordanian community or society, because we always talk about the war and what's happening in Gaza. So we are moving away from the women issues and what's happening to women and their needs inside Jordan. And this is affecting us, let alone that the pressure happening there and the large number of men who were killed or died, or the and many of the women migrated to Jordan without a national ID number, which is posing another pressure. So that's why we are focusing on the war and not on the women issues. Don't forget the economic situation in Jordan, which has been affected, and the more the economic situation is affected, the more the effect on women. And is that clear now? I will talk about Iraq. During the last period, we have seen the political entities intentionally trying to take the rights of women, and anything stipulated by the law, or by amendments, or by governmental procedures. For example, we have amendments in the personal status law that need to be cancelled, and and talking about women's rights in Iraq is a luxury by itself, and especially after October, because after October, the protests actually resulted in strong women, and the government, they are assuming themselves as religious entities, and pressuring on the government, and they see that the women place is at home. So, but did this affect Iraq negatively, or made women more demanding for their rights? As for women, we are facing pressures, media pressures, unprecedented media pressures. And we are talking here about the official media, even if it is affiliated with armed factions, or affiliated with the government, but there are controls. But we are talking here about the informal media and the social media. The social media is being used systematically in Iraq against the women. The moment they mention women's rights, women may be exposed to threatening or killing in public, or this is done on the Facebook and other platforms. You have a very good example, Marwa, and you have with the withdrawal of your colleague, lawyer, because of the she was attacked in the social media. But now we're moving into Hayat Ortala, because Marwa mentioned the media. Can you shed light on this? In order to respond to your question, first question, I think Lebanon has been affected greatly by the events since the events of Gaza, the 7th of October. And then it rolled out until the last war in September. I would like to shed light on some points. Violence against the women is still persist, and increasingly, because we are living in paternal or patriotic societies. They are practicing violence against women in the streets, economically, morally, and other things. And I do agree with Noor that the importance of talking about these issues is being decreased because there are other priorities now emerging, And also the protection system is decreasing because if there is a hope for women to access justice, this will be decreased, and also these institutions cannot provide the protection for women. Hayat, one of the things that you shed light on in Sharika, ولكن is the privacy of women and the period and other issues. And so our gains are being declining. And when talking about laws, advocacy, everything stopped, and now we are beginning to talk about basic things, and the pose of the periods in women, and after the bombing that took place in the port. Actually, there is a study that showed about 76 of women are suffering from the menopause and the stop of the period. And Lena, what about the challenges? What about the challenges in the light of the developments in Syria? You have been working since the beginning of the revolution on the alternative media. So, what has changed? And you were calling for the toppling of the regime. Then the regime collapsed, and then what has changed? And I have been working since 2005 in Syria on the personal status law and the honor crimes, and we kept working on the honor crimes. And as Hayat mentioned, if you want to tackle or mention the daily needs, they will attack you. Is it the time or the appropriate time to talk about these issues, like the period and other things? We are being attacked. And also, when talking about the rights, they say that it is not the appropriate time to talk about them. So keep it for later. We are always out of the appropriate time. And we are talking about mothers, sisters, and daughters during wars or conflicts. Usually, the girl or woman is a pressure tool or a tool to humiliate in front of the man that is attached to her. So it is used as a weak link and as a tool. And unfortunately, we are being attacked by the media at all times before the revolution, even whenever we talk about women rights, there is no actually controlling entity that believe in this issue. And Syria used to be divided to several powers. Now it is divided, sort of, but under different factions, and no faction of them believes in the rights of women. And we are always asked, so what's the difference after the revolution? Did you get more rights? No. What happened that we know our rights more than ever, and we fight for them. And but they are using religion in order to suppress this issue. So, but this will lead us to another discussion. Now there is an opportunity in Syria. Do you have the feeling on a women level that you can mobilize in order to rebuild the laws under the framework of freedoms and liberties for women and for humans in general? Yes, there is an opportunity, but it is not realized because we have concerns. This is an interim government, and we have tried this government in Idlib, and in Idlib, they all wearing a veil, and they prevented us from conducting training courses or empowerment for women or to talk about rights. And this what happened in Idlib, and this happened happened because of the controlling powers, and it is clear from the messages given to the international community that there is an opportunity. Sure enough, it should be an opportunity because it is not plausible after all the sacrifices that we did during the past years, and by the mothers or sisters or daughters or all the mothers that whom lost their children, but we don't know what will happen. So thank you, Lina, because you are the youngest amongst us. We left the best for the last. So if you want to comment on the other interventions, or because you are assuming a leadership position in your platform, so what can this change in the situation of women or contribute to changing the situation of women? You are muted. Tala, you are muted. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. Okay. Hello, everybody. I would like to comment about what has been mentioned by my colleagues. In relation to Palestine, sure enough, women during the last 2 years, adding up what they have been suffering from since 1948, but now the situation is becoming more catastrophic for women, especially in Gaza and the West Bank. In Gaza, for example, there is more than 1 million women were displaced. And in the West Bank, the scene is being repeated. So we have a complex or compound violence in addition to the domestic violence or community violence, and add up the violations and the war that is going on in Palestine. In this case, laws has no effect at all on the ground. Because the crimes against women and against all the people is very catastrophic. And as for my role in the Women Chimera in Palestine, I usually see that in the newsrooms and in the other top positions of decision making of the media outlets, rarely you can see a woman. There is male hegemony and dominance on the media outlets. And I was younger when I entered the realm of media, and now, after 3 years in the media, I can say that when there are women in top positions, in the decision-making positions, the addressing a story or the narrative of the story will be so different than the conventional method or approach. They address women in a very classic way, and like a news approach, not humanitarian approach. They are talking about challenges and women facing this reality, although it is hard, and we don't want to show that women are always holding fast and legends. We are against this view or image, but what we think that women should be in decision-making positions and top management positions in order to address the news, because their discourse is so different than the males, because you as a woman, you know the details, although men can know about these details, but not the same. In the camera women, we focus on details because these details attract the audience, and you need to be close to the story. You need to feel the story and bite in, and then to call for action in order to take measures on the ground. So we cannot generalize because we have other journalist colleagues are in decision-making positions, and they are working on women issues in a very developed method. Yes, sure. But you mentioned the women in leadership position. And on the Women Day in the news, they broadcasted some statistics and the analytical management positions and women in the leadership positions or administrative leadership position in Jordan. There is only 9% of women, 27 in the editorial leadership in Lebanon, 21 administrative leadership, 36% editorial leadership in Palestine, 20% in the administrative positions or leadership, and none in they didn't mention the editorial. Leadership. And in Egypt, 23 in the administrative leaderships, and 27 in the editorial leadership. We have a problem in the media. When we open the channels, we always see that the reporters or the anchors are of women. And we can see that women are present, but actually they are implementing the decisions issued by men. So their positions are very limited, although from 7 to 14 years, you feel that the women are more oriented to literature issues like Arabic language, English language, and the males are oriented to mathematics and physics and other scientific streams. So we can see this in the tendencies of women and the novelists, female novelists, they use that to communicate the details, and most of them are of women. Noor, the independent media held to address women issue is in another way. So what happened that we needed the independent media because men on independent media when they are attacked, they are attacked for the news, they are communicating, but the women are being attacked for her as a woman and the age, and then the content they are mentioning. So we have many types of attacks, but for men, they are being only attacked for the content, but women is being judged from more than one angle: the age, the accent, the how they speak, and they provided more space for women to be in more positions, but there is things that put you backward. And if I may say, uh, what we have seen in the campaign on the person status law, uh, we noticed that the female media people do have specific programs for women. But the content of the program has nothing to do with women. We have a program called Shahrazad on the female channel, and the Dr. Fairouz used to tackle issues of women without any filtering, and trying in using women and rights-based methodology to tackle and address the issues of women. But alas, it was attacked, and even if they are present as anchors, as presenters, but there is no program in the media that talks about women as women, not the social media, of course, and they used to that men wants to fabricate a quarrel in order, but as mostly the men are using the religious thought, and actually this will overcome the civic thought. Marwa, you talked at the beginning that how much the media in Iraq is divided between the different militias, the businessmen, so on and so forth. But what about the independent media? Is it playing a role in Iraq to advocate the women rights? You, as a lawyer, do you think or feel that there is a support that is supporting your demands? No, no, very few, very few. Most of them were media coverage, and they remain as media coverage. Uh, they were present as a media, but they remain or diagnoses the reality from their angle. So this is due to social or religious controls or things. No, each entity has its own controls. The government has controls, which is not to talk about anything related to the government. Or the religious entities or the religious media and the independent media is under pressure, legal pressures, and also they are preventing the teachers, the advocates, or the lawyers to show on the media, and we are facing some pressures, and the government is making all the procedures even more difficult and for women to show up and talk. And the media, all sorts of media, the opposition media, even, and regardless how they address the issue, they supported the campaign in a good way, in our opinion. So that's why, when talking about early marriages, and because of the media pressure, they obliged House of Parliament to keep the age of marriage as mentioned or stipulated by the current law, because the Jafari doctrine may make it less. But because of the pressures we exercised on in this campaign, we kept it as stipulated by the law. Hayata or Lina, we need to. I will say something quick. When talking about the percentages, because it is sensitive, we need to divide the discussion into two folds. The political participation, the presence of women in decision-making position and in the media is very important, and the women are being excluded. And not only there is a male control on the media environment, but the working in the media environment is difficult. There is a high harassment rate in the media. Uh, and also many pressures when women wants to get married and have children, they leave the media in an early age, earlier than men. The battle should not stop on how to bring women in decision-making positions. So 26%, yes, but they cannot have a say in the decision they take. So, if we want to tackle important issues for women, this should happen on different levels. First of all, not only to give a space. What kind of space we are giving? We saw very many media outlets are giving a space for women issues, but then they bring different perspectives, and the clergyman opinion will be the has the final say. And the female organizations, they benefited from the support for women issues during the past years, even with the classic media. But in the wave of the alternative media, they helped in pushing these issues forward, because the alternative media and those who are founding these platforms, they are mostly are women, and they are activists, and they are aware and well informed about the rights, women rights, and demands, uh, and so there is a space. It helped, but doesn't mean that there is a problem in the way of coverage, and this doesn't mean that they are actually violence against women is not to kill a woman, because when a woman is killed, everybody will run and hurry and cover it. But women are being harassed and exposed to violence every day on a daily basis in the courts. And let us talk about the women media, because they provided a space for this kind of coverage. We are going to shed light on the women media. And Hayat, you talked about the problems and the way of coverage. I don't know if Lena has some problems and issues in the way of coverage. Is it controlled by social controls, or the reaction of the audience? If we are going to talk about this issue, we are going to close it, or being penalized on the social media. I will talk about the Rosanna experience. And as I said, I started working with this issue since 2005, and when I used to address the violence, and I used to have a talk show on Arabic channel. And there are social restrictions. And we are not talking about the controlling powers and the governments. There are social restrictions. I still remember in one of the episodes, we were talking about violence against women, and we received many reactions and calls, and for 2 hours. And the next day, three people approached the or came to the radio office, and they asked to see me. And doctors, engineers, they asked for this program to stop, and they said that you cannot talk like this. And also, when I talked about the sexual culture or education, they also protested. And in Rosanna, I received many people all through these years because of the coverage content, which is particular for women. And they asked to cancel everything related to women. And if you want to talk about anything, literally, they asked for this is to not to be aired. And so, how did this affect you in the editorial policy? We are not talking about being a hero or things like that, but people fear for the people working with him, because you may receive threats and assaults. Yes, we were attacked on the social media. We received threats. We were exposed to media campaigns on social media because we talk about human issues. And as you mentioned, because we received from people that we can pay you if the funders are asking you to talk about these issues. So, if you think that this is happening after the revolution, no, we have been working for years on women issues and honor crimes, and this is not a new story. So, the what about the change that is done by the independent media platform? So, do you feel that there is a positive effect? Yes, or impact? Yes, this is what I wanted to say. We came to note that there is a social pressure, but we are not saying that women should unite and revolt, and no. But each part in Syria is subject to a different law. And also, in essentially, the law in Syria is a backwarded law, and you need to empower women using the available tools. In Rosanna, when we are exposed to all these things, we conducted several training courses on how to protect ourselves and the institution, because we were all attacked. The married women, they used to approach their husbands in order to tell them about their wives. So, no, I'm telling you what we did. In Rosanna, what we did, that we kept producing the same content, but we took into consideration the culture of the society, but not stop. And also, we discovered that women should be equipped by tools to be used, and not to raise their awareness. And because I may raise the awareness of a woman, and then she can be hit by her kins, for example. Also, the culture of tools, the change cannot happen in one night and by a push of a button. Actually, we need to work on this. We need to equip the women with the tools in order to fight for her rights and get them. Thank you. Tala, tell us about female chimera's experience. You have an issue of women under occupation, women calling for the end of occupation. So, is the reality different between female chimeras in Palestine and the issue that we are talking about, which is women's rights and its sensitivity in the society? As when we started in females chimera, we had a problem that the women are underrepresented in the media. And even if there is a coverage for women issues, this will be done in a typical Oracle traditional way. Our objective was to increase the percentage of representation of women in the media and to change the stereotype against women. And we started in our policies. In our policy we started doing this by letting women talking about their stories. In Chimera, we will have a story about a lady, and the lady herself will be given the chance and the space to talk about her story. When talking about the issues of women in Palestine, Lebanon, Iraq, or Jordan, sure enough, they are different because there are different cultural consideration for each country and city even. In Palestine, I cannot talk about a certain issue using the same methodology that they accept in Lebanon. What they accept in Lebanon may not be accepted in Palestine. So I have an objective how to convince the community not to confront the community. I need to have a shared objective with the community. I need to convey messages, to communicate messages to enhance the position of women. And this actually enabled these stories to be to reach out for the audience, especially that the platform was started from Hebron, from Khalil, which is
So we are
conservative
talking 8 or 10
governorate.
years now. The situation is different. So it wasn't that acceptable. It wasn't that acceptable when we talk about sensitive things such as violence. It was a shame, a stigma, and we actually try to show the people what we are doing and what we are working on. And the citizens started to understand what the women are suffering and the pressure on women and how they are trying to defy themselves and actually defy the community and society. So now we started to see that the understanding started to develop and people are more capable of comprehend the situation. And let me talk about the reality now. The reality now, in the past 2 years, it changed a lot actually. The way of narrating or the way of presenting women issues, there is a lot of there are a lot of new platforms in Palestine, and there were a lot of efforts and accumulative, if I want to describe it, and everybody started working. And from my own point of view, yes, there is some sort of differences in presenting the issues of women in Palestine, especially during the Gaza war and the war that's still continuing now, and it hasn't finished, whether in the West Bank or in Gaza or in anywhere else. I believe, from my point of view, I see that despite all the challenges and the difficulties and the violations that are tragic, but from the point of covering, it is actually changing. Yes, so you are saying that the community is starting to be more accepting. Yes, of course, but not. Yes, of course, there are certain priorities. I don't know who mentioned. who mentioned the laws, but you are talking about occupation and war. But you have said the number of correspondence. This is the biggest number or figure of correspondence, women correspondents in war, than I ever see before. So we started to see women issues more, especially in Gaza war. I believe this is the war that I saw the most coverage from women, and they are the first, or most of them actually, it's their first time to work in wars. As I saw, yes, there is a lot to. There are a lot of women who are talking about women issues and women needs. And how can I tell the story? Yes, I need to be in a place where I can express women issues and women cases. Marwa, we are talking about a community that has its own standards and conditions and laws, and this will influence the editorial plan. And for you, even working outside media, how media is being taken or is being received, and it will change the way that how legal things. Because you told us that there is a certain lawyer who withdrew from the campaign due to the media role. So media has a very negative role sometimes if it is not directed in a smart and effective way. Yes, yes, of course, and. Many women withdrew actually due to the attacks that they were exposed to, and especially with the social media, a lot of the colleagues were exposed to attack and they withdrew. But there is a fellow from the Bar Association, she withdrew and she was expelled because she went to the media and she talked at the media and she talked to the media, and the Bar Association decided to dismiss this lawyer and to disbar this lawyer due to the fact that she went on media and she talked about the civil status law, and there were comparisons that the persons in authority were not satisfied with, so they have opened investigation. So we are talking about a cumulative issue. We are talking about threats not only by militias and other. We have official threats that are from the government, from the bar association, from and unfortunately, the role of the bar association was very clear. They even barred all lawyers from talking to the media without permission from the bar association. So there is an institutional interference banning people from talking to media, and this makes it difficult for media to cover it. But the media had a very negative impact because they edit the clips, and they only take the piece that they think that it will make a hit. Actually, it will be popular or more accepted by people. So, especially if that speaker is talking about something that's untraditional, whether religiously or even politically or even in any way well, so possible. So this is the things that actually that the media can play a very negative role, especially in those that are religious issues. And everybody is taking these clips actually, and they just circulated over social media, so it will be communicated to entities that may take action against that person, whether you are talking about government or you're talking about militias or other entities. And I would like to thank the speaker. Actually, this is the first time I met her, but I feel that she's more of Iraqi than a Lebanese, because more than she is a Lebanese, because I went to her platform actually and I saw what she does. So I was really surprised. I didn't know her before, but during the campaign for personal status law, she was really strong and she was really. Uh, uh, so she said, so everybody was telling me about her, and to the point that I thought that she was Iraqi, but apparently they told me that she was Lebanese, and but she was working on that issue, and all these issues are are actually very important, and we hope that we have a platform similar to the one that you are operating actually, and for the women in Iraq and for the people in Iraq, because we do have women that are able to tell their story, and as you know, we have issues that cannot be told better except by women actually. So I will send you links actually to watch some of these campaigns. There are a lot of platforms in Iraq, in the north, in the center, and the south, and we do have platforms that are well known and that are very active in Iraq. Yes, yes, of course, the platform from Lebanon covers places outside Lebanon. But as Tala said, every community has its own rules and has its own and tackle certain issues differently than the other. And we need, and but unless there are certain geographical restrictions that prevent addressing these issues, what do you think, Hayat? Yes, thank you for your opinion. And I believe what distinguishes Walakin, it is an independent women platform. And I am one of the people who pushes actually towards specialized media and especially women media, because I always say that independent media can give wider room or bigger room for women. But but there is a certain weakness or not that useful for presenting women issues. So what distinguish a women platform is that the editorial policy is based on the best interest of women and the understanding of the gender perspective of women issues. So why do we work in other countries? Because we are specialized in women issues, and we are working for 13 years now, and we consider the women issues uh, is international and do not actually differ to the nature or to the nationality of that woman, and especially in our region, as we saw the women who are suffering from wars and those displaced. We do have the women murder or what they call love crimes, and also civil status law. We are still in Lebanon suffering from these issues as well. So we have invested actually a lot lately to have a base of field correspondents and reporters, not only Lebanese. We have more than 120 field reporters from all the Arab world or Arab-speaking countries. So wherever there are issues, we do try to voice them, and we depend on women activists. So we want those who are most relevant to these issues actually to talk about their causes and about their issues and to serve their case. I don't know if we have questions from the people who are participating with us. Please send us, uh, and we will read your question. But I wanted to say uh, that Minassa is also to have a platform specialized in women, and there are a lot of other platforms from Iraq. I personally follow them, and I understand the Iraqi reality or the Iraqi women reality. But if we talk about the role of women media, I don't know, Dina, if you want to comment on the homogeneity of that platform and the harmony of that platform with the place or with the location. And I don't know whether you saw one of the places that you worked on. Does it change anything? No, we have reporters, actually, women and male and female, and we were working in all regions, whether we are talking about the regions under the regime, the former regime controlled areas under aliases or under nicknames. But the problem, or what actually has worked for us or served us, is that we are working from abroad. But if you are a reporter and you are working from the inside, they are exposed to certain areas. Now, if you want to take your studio to the in and you want to work inside, you will be under greater pressure. People actually came to our studio to demand to talk about these issues. So, community wise, the pressure is larger. And if there is any censorship, I believe we have to come to actually go out and to work from abroad. We do have reporters that are working undercover, and but you need to actually from the when we started with working with rules, and as I told you, we insisted to maintain this line actually. So we will not allow the censorship to impose anything on us, and also not to actually also impose us and take us, or not to accept funding. And yes, things are harder if we move to inside Syria or not. Noor, this is another issue that we face here in Jordan as well. The tribal issue that you didn't approve, that there is no influence, because we are talking about a community now in the Arab world. We go into families and tribes. So, do we have any details that are of concern? What do we mean by a tribal community? This is a loose definition. We cannot actually take it from only one perspective. Now, the tribes who didn't live in homes, they were actually nomads, and they have no specific location or domicile that they live in. So we do have the cities and the villages people as well, who are harder to access. So when we go and provide courses in media and independent media, we start from the point where they are. So we need to go to the level that is available and the level of openness in that community. And as I said, we start from the point that we can start, because I cannot go further. I cannot go further because this may expose the woman life to danger. So if a woman left a certain course and she went back home and she said one, two, three, we heard one and two, one, two, three in a certain home. This will create problems, and this is what she wants to mention, which is the sensitivity or community sensitive in Jordan, as Nada said, that we had a disagreement on the definition of the tribal community. So if we want to apply the definition that we use in Jordan, we do have many of the women from tribes actually working in TV. We do have Najah Al Masaid, Asil Al Zibin, Aitaf Rodan, all of those from tribes. And I didn't see, to be honest, I felt, I didn't feel that that maybe because she is actually from a tribe, this is an issue. No, on the contrary, it gives her a strength. A strength actually to face the community. But in Iraq, the law is not that strong. And here you are afraid of the militias, of the reactions, of the retaliation, of the abduction. And in Jordan, the situation is a little bit different. So if you have any problem, uh, there is a law that you can resort to, and courts actually that will help you. And nobody kidnap a journalist or threaten a journalist. And we do have the cybercrime law also is a two-edged sword. Actually, it silenced a lot of people, but also it may silence people, but it also took the edge out of many attacks that was undertaken against people in the media. What is your comment, Hayat? I believe there is a question on the chat, and I don't like the word to be sensitive to community because we paid or we paid the price because we are sensitive. Yes, we are as a company. We are sensitive toward women more than anything. But this doesn't mean that we take the or lower our actually level of openness actually due to taking community sensitivity. Or yes, we have violent reaction, but we need to name names in certain issues. When we talk about personal status law, when we talk about sectarian reaction, violent reaction against women, because the one of the sheikh or the holy people want to change my point of view. When you take a child off the hand of a woman at 2 years old, this is violence against women. When we talk about more intricate cases such as sexual freedoms, such as the LGBT community, I cannot say that the community do not accept that, and I understand this approach. I understand the circumstances. I didn't say that pay. We need to take consider or to take the community considerations actually that we should be silent. No, we need to talk, but we need to protect women. We cannot actually just let the women in the community without any tools to protect herself, but we need to give her tools, and this is what I'm talking about. That one of the women ethics in our coverages that we don't talk about any case without providing a very enlightened approval actually from that woman. And we know the stigma, we know that women are not believed, and there are a lot of accusations, but we feel that we know that the woman actually has taken all these actually, or all. This is her last resort, and we have to mention these issues, and we know that this is really risky. And I remember actually, and I was telling Nada, we at Sharika. We are summoned actually, and we have 3 cases brought against us this year, and we are having more cases every year, especially violence against women. It's not easy to prove, especially if we talk about sexual violence, rape, or harassment. It's very difficult to prove that. So this is my opinion, but I cannot actually generalize that. I realize that the communities are different. Maybe the situation politically or security wise, it's different than in Lebanon than in Jordan or in other countries. Yes, Tala and Hassid mentioned that, and I believe Riham Abu Aita, our friend and colleague from Kashif platform, she's commenting on that, and she said that I believe the discourse, the language of discourse is really important. And especially when we talk about what Alina and Tala said are on women, that we have to actually, we don't have to have any, or we need to take the community sensitivity, but we don't want to discourse, to talk in a different discourse. So I will be actually commenting on one a reality which is different. Media, as Hayat mentioned, media, we sometimes recruit women in media uh, 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 because this is a really sensitive area to solve your problems, and even worse, if you want to use social media. So sometimes the tools that you are using, you can communicate a message through the media, but as Hayat said, normally or usually, we are not pushing women to solve their problems through media because, or by means of protecting them. So I believe that the women media is different than media in general. We are talking about ethics of handling women issue. What do you think of that? We are talking about media. but there are certain special or specific characteristic for women. I just want to comment on what Hayat mentioned. It doesn't mean that I cannot raise challenges and problems facing women. No, at all. But how can I communicate that? And how can I present these challenges? So, my goal is to handle these issues. So, if I have a certain I don't want to create a conflict, or and we have movements against women, especially in Palestine. Now, if we have this slander, or this deformation of what I'm doing by the community, I lost. So I need to know the community I'm working with, and I need to know. And I agree actually with the discourse and women discourse, and there is a difference between the women media and the media. So uh, we need to work on the two things in parallel. So uh, 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 so it's very important to have a very simple language when you want to talk to the people, actually, and we need to make people understand, because people, I don't want to undermine how women think, but or people think in general. But what I want to say is that when we talk about women issues, and we believe that we always thought that people understand what we are talking, and that they understand what equality is and what gender is. No, people are still actually having their own understanding of these things. And how can we communicate these issues, and how can we communicate the proper understanding of these things? And actually, I forgot your question. If you can repeat it, we are talking about the ethics that Hayat mentioned. Yes, we do have certain ethics when we want to talk about the women issues, and we need to raise awareness of actually communicating these issues within the boundaries or within a frame of a certain ethics. So, of course, any story that we want to tackle or we want to handle, we talk with women that we work with, and we do take into consideration the sensitivity of these issues. We have a new strategy, is actually to do a line animated stories, to be told by voices of women, and with certain drawings or cartoon that depict the story of women. And we aim by that to protect women and to protect them from any danger. I just want to mention something. There is another challenge, which is the time. I just want to mention something really fast, because I do have a different opinion in that regard. I consider that in language and in values, women discourse and women media walk hand in hand, because our platform is not only a platform for media; it's activism media. So it's an active, it is to serve a certain activist, or to serve a certain cause. And I believe that in women platforms we can talk about women issues louder than any other platforms, because we know what the target, we know the risks that are really higher on women media. We are different from the people in the domain. I believe they know who is Sharik Media, and we have been working for years in that. But I want to mention, to say something really important. When we talk about the community, this community is different from the age of our grandmothers or mothers. Actually, we cannot forget that there is a large segment of the community that they have a very high level or ceiling in terms of demands. So there is actually a very loud demand for women rights. And one of the recent issues is an investigative journalism case that a businessman used to abuse his family. And the daughter, actually, who is 18 years old, she went out and she actually exposed everything through a video. So there is actually a radical movement toward changing things, and also social media is changing that. There are massive developments that, unfortunately, as we said in the beginning, that given the time of Ramadan, we will do this talk within an hour, but eventually there are a lot of things that we can actually expand on. But we have to stop here, and I would like to thank you, Hannah Mashad, Lina Shawaf, Tala Sharif, and Marwa Abed for your participation and for your inputs. And we hope that we will have other interviews on this issue and other issues. And thank you all. Uh, Thank you very much. And we thank all the colleagues as well. Thank you very much.